The Ducati Panigale V2 Bayliss was everything that we thought it would be.
Absolutely.
It's sexy, it is stylish, bucket loads of power.
And bloody uncomfortable to ride in an Aussie summer. Okay, so what did we like? Now, for me, there's a lot to like about this bike, but I think top of the list, and every Panigale is in this category, is looks, and looks. I think they are the best looking sports bike on the market, bar none.
I would definitely agree with you, but we do know someone who didn't.
So what is going on there? Your flatmate Ben said he thought it was the ugliest bike he's ever seen. I think that just proves you need a better class of flatmate. Sorry, Ben.
I agree.
They're just gorgeous bikes. Now, the paint on this one, gorgeous. I actually really liked the tricolour livery. I even loved the little shell sticker, which you didn't like.
I didn't like that part, but that's a very small part of the colour design.
Yeah, I mean, the whole design of the bike is awesome.
Yeah.
The integrated lights in the mirrors.
In the mirror, yeah. I think it just looked so clean. More on the mirrors later, but the indicators on them, it just looked beautiful.
Yeah, I love the billet parts. I love the headstock.
Yeah.
With the Bayliss logo on the headstock there.
Yes.
The etching in the seat with the 21 logo. The headlight and the entire front end, I think, is absolutely stunning. Yeah,
just the angles of how everything sort of came together. It's sharp angles, but also
smooth.
It had such a smooth look to it. It was beautiful.
The bike just screams style.
Yes.
I loved the single-sided swing arm.
You did.
Now, I have a feeling Tegan's friend Andy has a 959.
Yes.
I think that's a dual-sided swing arm.
It is, and he actually didn't like the single-sidedness just because he loves symmetry. So, look, I guess that's just a preference thing on looks.
For me, I just love that single-sided swing arm. I think it looks awesome. It's been on the V4 for a while, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's the first time they've had it on a V2 with this model V2, not just the Bayliss.
Yeah.
You've got the little signature on the tank.
Yes, that was a very nice touch.
Good. For me, there was absolutely nothing I didn't like about the looks of this bike. Now, engine, Teagues.
Oh my gosh, there's definitely enough power there. It's a 955cc liquid-cooled L-twin and 155 horsepower at 10,750 RPM. You're definitely not having any issues with anyone overtaking you on that bike.
Yeah, I found that engine, it just kind of eggs you on to go a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But having said that, like with the fueling and the ride-by-wire throttle, like it wasn't snatchy. I actually found the fueling pretty good. At low speed, low gears, it was actually pretty smooth. And even in sports mode.
Yeah, that was surprising actually.
Now, I mostly rode it in street mode, to be honest. I actually didn't have this one in sports mode because I don't think you need any more power.
You absolutely don't. And I did have it in sports mode once or twice, but look, like you said, there's so much power in the street mode. And I don't know if I actually felt that significant amount of difference, but that's probably because the speeds that I'm going at between sport and street, it's not going to really show up.
Yeah, I reckon you'd notice if it were on track, but then it's got a track mode.
Yeah.
So that sports mode, I mean, look, I didn't notice a massive difference. You might just leave it in sports mode if you own one.
Yeah.
No big issue. So the gearbox and the quick shifter, it's got a 6-speed gearbox and Ducati quick shift up and down.
Oh, that quick shifter. It was so smooth.
So it was smooth and it was flawless. I actually found a little, not quite as smooth as the one on the M1000R. I just found it a little bit more raw, but it suited the bike, so I had no issues with it at all.
100%.
Teagues, the weight of it, what do you think?
Yeah, so the weight was quite interesting. So it's 197 kilos wet.
Yep, the standard Panigale is a little bit heavier,
Yeah, so look, I think the weight, I don't know about you, but I found that the weight distribution is a little bit different to what I was used to. It seemed a little bit higher up, a little bit more top heavy. Which, look, you don't notice when you're riding it. I only noticed that when I picked up the bike from on the side stand and put it into center. That was the only time where I really noticed it. But it's still a very light bike, easy to maneuver around.
It is a really light bike, and that's due to that aluminium subframe.
Yes.
And the 5-spoke alloy wheels, which I think reduce a bit of weight as well. They're 17-inch wheels. It's also got a seat height of 835mm, and the standard Panigale is about 840mm. I don't think there's that much difference there. We could both easily flat-foot it. No dramas there. It's got a 17-litre fuel tank, which had reasonable range, even when we were pushing a little bit and keeping the revs on. But I think the range should be fine out of it. The tyres are sticky, and they're the excellent Pirelli Diablo Rosso Corsa 2 tyres. They were awesome.
Yeah, they're great tyres. The brakes were excellent as well.
Absolutely.
As you would expect from twin 320 semi-floating discs with radial-mounted Brembo monoblock M4 4-piston calipers and Bosch cornering ABS.
Yeah, they're market-leading brakes. We've had the same brakes on some other press bikes as well, and they're absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So the suspension is unbelievable, and it's also the main difference between the Bayliss and the standard V2 Panigale. Although I must say, there is nothing standard about a Panigale. So the suspension on the Bayliss is 43mm upside-down forks and a fully adjustable Ohlins TTX 36 monoshock, which was unbelievable.
Yeah. The other key differences, apart from the colours, are the wheelbases, which are slightly different. There's the trail, the Ohlins steering damper, and the Bayliss has a lithium-ion battery to reduce weight.
There's also a carbon fibre titanium silencer cover, and the front brake master cylinder is self-bleeding on the Bayliss. The main thing that I liked about this bike was that it's a Ducati.
Yep.
And more than that, it's a Panigale. I was nearly as happy riding it as I was just looking at it in the garage. So if you own one, let us know in the comments what you love about your Panigale. So there are a few things that we didn't like.
We're so sorry.
For me, and it's probably more to do with my eyesight, the 4.3-inch TFT is nice, but it was a little hard to read for me.
Yeah.
Some of the text was just a little bit small.
I didn't have that issue, so yeah, that's just an individual.
Yeah. I wear reading glasses. It wasn't a massive issue. I could see what speed I was doing, which was generally pretty fast.
Maybe you shouldn't be able to see it.
The other thing was, and this is standard on all bloody Ducatis.
Or most bikes in general, to be fair.
Needs tail tidy.
Yeah.
Like, that thing is just damn ugly.
Yeah. Especially, it stands out more because everything else works so perfectly. All of the angles, the smooth lines, and then
you got this big piece of plastic sitting out the back.
Yeah.
The other thing, and there's another YouTuber, and I'm sure you guys all watch the Missenden Flyer, he always calls the little master cylinders piss pot plastic, and mate, they are.
Yeah.
I can't work out why they are not really nice anodized little cylinders. I mean, not a massive issue. They do their job, but come on.
But speaking of quality as well, I also found the mirrors were no good at all. Like, they were shaking so much that when we were riding together, the amount of times I took the wrong turn because I couldn't see his blinkers because all I could see in the mirror was shaking.
Yeah, the vibration on those mirrors is ordinary.
Yeah.
But, as we said before, the way the indicators are integrated into them, they look superb. But the main issue for both of us on this bike was the heat that comes off that engine.
It's such a hot bike to ride, particularly when we're riding it in Australian summer.
And I think the couple of days that we actually went out and got some decent riding footage of it were two extremely hot days. It made riding the bike here in Sydney an absolute punish.
Yeah.
And borderline unbearable when we had like 40-degree heat.
Yeah, it's shocking that being on a Panigale cannot be enjoyable. I thoroughly enjoyed the first maybe 20 minutes of riding, but just after that point, the bike gets so hot. And we're talking, we had 35-degree plus days. The engine temperature is about normal, like it's same as my MT-07, it's getting to about 102 degrees Celsius. But just the way that it expels the heat around your legs, but also from the front towards you, it's just coming at you from everywhere, and it's bloody hot.
Looks and temperature.
Yes. Yeah, so you can just weigh that up.
So yeah, Tegan had it on a day down the south coast. Beautiful part of the world. I love riding down there. Yeah. You were wrecked by the end of that day.
Absolutely wrecked.
The next day, I had to go over to my mum's to pick her up and bring her back to my place. She was coming back to my place for lunch.
Well, you put her on the back of the Panigale?
I did not put my 81-year-old mother on the back of a Panigale. I left the bike at her place and grabbed her car.
Very good. That was the 40-degree day as well.
That was the 40-degree day, and I wasn't going too far, and it was hot.
Oh, God.
And I was so glad to get in the car. But on a cool day, I had no issues with it. I rode it through the Royal National Park a couple of times. 23, 25 degrees. Yeah, it's warm, but, I mean, you're on a Panigale. Now, you can get a heat shield which sits under the seat.
I have no idea how that is not standard for the Panigales.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. So if you own one, do you have a heat shield? And if you don't, how do you deal with the heat coming off the seat?
Yeah, let us know, because the only person I know who also has a Panigale, he thinks that the heat is totally normal and does not have a heat shield. So I don't get it.
So maybe I think it just means that Panigale riders are probably a little bit more hardcore than us.
That must be it.
Yeah. So, Teagues, what else didn't you like about the bike?
So one thing that I really struggled with is that riding position, particularly putting pressure on my wrists. So I found that either I was trying to give my wrists a break by leaning forward, basically on the tank, which is just not comfortable.
You know what you need to do?
What?
Engage your core.
I don't have a core, that's the problem. I wasn't able to hold myself up while you're leaning forward and not lean on my wrists.
Yeah.
But we had quite different seating positions on the same bike, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I didn't have that issue. I didn't find it all that uncomfortable at all. I had very little pressure on my wrists, but I could feel my core engaging. Although you had a theory about it.
Did I?
With and you said Andy and I. Yeah. So what's the go there? You reckon my belly was lying against the tank?
There was maybe a little bit more padding that was holding you up. Maybe.
That was my core.
It's a theory.
It's my core.
Now, my other small thing that I didn't love about the bike is the color. I think I would prefer like an all white or an all red Ducati, but the tricolored, it still looked fine, just from a very superficial level. I just like clean white or red.
Yeah, it's bullshit, mate. So, grin factor. I reckon it's about a 10 out of 10 when you see it sitting in the garage.
100% agree. Seeing that every morning when I woke up, God, it just made my whole day.
And then I reckon when you're riding it, it's about a 9 out of 10 for the first hour. How you decide? Because I found it a really fun bike to ride.
Yeah.
It was reasonably comfortable when I was riding it. But after an hour, my late 40s body decided it wasn't happy at all.
Didn't you just turn 50?
Okay, very late 40s.
For me, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. I think, look, it looks incredible, and I agree, the first hour, maybe the first half an hour for me, is so much fun. And look, I got people looking at the bike, I got people whistling at the bike.
Whistling at the bike?
The bike, let's be honest. It does get a lot of looks. You feel incredible on it for the first half an hour.
Would you buy one?
Look, that's a big question.
I would, and it'd just sit in the garage, and I'd probably ride it about 5 or 6 times a year.
Yeah, in winter.
In winter.
Look, I probably wouldn't, but in saying that, I was surprised at the price. I thought it would be a lot more expensive.
Yeah, the price is really competitive, particularly the Bayliss over the standard V2. Let us know in the comments below what you think about the Ducati Panigale Bayliss V2.
Were we right in our review? And more importantly, is Ben wrong?
Ben is definitely wrong.
He's wrong.
He's wrong. That's all for today. And remember, you can't buy happiness, but you can ride a motorcycle.
And that's kind of the same thing.